All right, so this is about digestion. About what?
Digestion.
All right. Okay. Just a moment. You know, food needs to be digested so that it can be absorbed to the blood, right?
Yeah.
You know, it for it to be digested, it needs to be broken down. You can't absorb food substances in the state you eat them. They need to be broken down. First of all, you chew them in the mouth, and then later in the stomach by the stomach muscles, and then some enzymes, special enzymes, we break up the large food molecules into smaller ones, and then the molecules will slowly enter into the bloodstream through tiny pores in the walls of the intestine, and those tiny pores are what we around villi, the villi. Have you heard of villi?
Is it Venus?
Or villus? This you can call that villus. The plural is
No,
villi.
Venus.
The plural is villus. The plural is villi. I will also talk to you about the features of the villi. Now, any undigested food will now pass out, and we can remove it out of the body. Sometimes water is absorbed in the large intestine. So I want you to read this. This is the summary of digestion. Go
Food
ahead.
is slowly broken down by our digest by our digestive system. It
Yes.
is broken up by in chewing in the chewing in the mouth. What?
So we
Oh,
chew.
chewing in the mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and by turning off the stomach muscles.
Okay.
Special chemicals called enzymes break up large food molecules into smaller ones. These molecules then slowly seep out into the blood through tiny pores in the walls of the small intestine. What is that, sir?
Villi. That's what I call
Oh,
villi or villus. Yes.
Mira, every undigested food enters the large intestine. The, the solid waste is then passed out of the body.
Okay. That's about digestion. Now we need to to go to page one. Let's talk about these enzymes that help to break down food substances. Page one, quickly. Are you on page one?
Yeah, but it's low.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
Enz-
on page two.
enzymes are biological catalysts. You know what catalysts are?
Yeah,
What are catalysts?
catalyst is something that speeds up reaction.
Interesting. Catalysts speed up the rate of reaction. So enzymes are catalysts that are biological in nature, organic, and all they do is to make the reaction faster. Basically, enzymes are proteins. Enzymes are what?
Proteins.
Now, enzymes are specific. In other words, a particular enzyme will act on a particular food substance, and they will not act on another food substance. So they are specific. They carry a specific work. They target a particular food substance, and others will target another type of food substance. The enzymes that target starch or carbohydrate are called amylase. Are called what?
Amylase.
Now, the kind of food substance they target are called substrates. So, the substrate for carbohydrate, the substrate that amylase act on are or is starch or carbohydrate. This I say substrate is the food substance that they act on, they break down. So amylase is a group of enzymes that break down starch or carbohydrate, and they break starch or carbohydrate into what? Into what?
Into glucose.
Simple
Glucose
sugar.
or simple
Simple
sugar.
sugar or glucose. So the enzyme that act on fat and oil or lipids are called lipase, and they break fat and oil into what?
Into fatty acid and glycerol.
Into fatty acid and glycerol. So that's a simple unit. All of these simple units are the forms that can be absorbed into the bloodstream. Our body does not absorb carbohydrate or starch or fat and oil or protein the way they are as large molecules until they are broken down. Now when they are broken down, for instance, starch or carbohydrate into glucose, fat and oil into fatty acid and glycerol, protein into amino acids, then the body can now absorb these simple units. Remember I said the food substance they act on are called what? The food substance they act on are called what?
On what?
The type of food substance enzymes act on are called what?
Substrate.
They are called substrate. Pay attention. What is the name of enzymes that act on starch or carbohydrate? What's the name of enzymes that act on starch or carbohydrate?
Amylase.
Amylase. Thank you. What's the name of enzymes that act on fat and oil? Lipase. Okay. The name of enzymes that act on protein? Protease. Okay. Now you need to understand how that happens, because I told you enzymes are specific. Their work targets a specific kind of food substance, which are called substrates. It's like a lock and key thing. You know, your key can open a particular lock, is it not?
Yeah.
A key is supposed to open a particular lock, so they are designed to act together. So the substrate, this one I illustrated in blue, has a specific enzyme which acts on it. So an enzyme for its own substrate, a lock and key thing. That's why only that particular enzyme can act on that substrate. Others will not be able to act on it, just like you can only use a particular key to open a particular lock. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so there's something I wrote about here. Let's move down. Characteristics of enzymes. What are the characteristics of enzymes? Let me zoom out a bit.
Enzymes are specific. A lock and key kind of interaction.
Yes.
Enzymes are affected.
So what does that mean? What does that mean to say that enzymes are specific?
They work. The different types of enzymes, they work on different substrates.
All right. So just a specific enzyme for a specific substrate. Okay. Go ahead.
Enzymes are affected by temperature and pH levels. They work
Optimally at a particular temperature or pH. Okay, so enzymes are affected by temperature and pH level. They work optimally at a particular temperature or a particular pH. Go to the next page, you will see the illustration of that. Look at this diagram here. Are you there?
Yeah.
At what temperature? You see, this is the activity of enzyme plotted against temperature. At what temperature is this enzyme at its peak activity?
At 7.
That's at 37 degrees Celsius, which is around the normal body temperature. So the normal body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, enzymes function at their peak level. Below 37 degrees Celsius, the activity of the enzyme reduces. I hope you can see that.
Yeah.
Above 37, the activity also reduces. The peak activity of enzyme is at 37 degrees Celsius. The same thing the same thing occurs for pH. At what pH does this particular enzyme function at its peak level?
Neutral or
pH of 7. Below pH of 7, when it becomes acidic, the activity reduces. Above pH of 7, when it becomes alkaline or basic, the activity of the enzyme also reduces. There's a particular pH level that the enzyme can be destroyed, or we use a technical term, denatured. It won't work again. That's why our body should maintain a particular pH level and a particular temperature, so that enzymes can function at the optimal level. Okay, let's take a very simple quick. What is an enzyme?
an enzyme is a biological substance.
Okay, so an organic substance that speeds up the rate of reaction. A catalyst is a chemical substance that speeds up the rate of reaction. In this case, it's a biological catalyst. It speeds up the rate of reaction. So an enzyme is a biological catalyst. Now give an example of enzymes and where it is found in the human body. Okay, just one example.
Amylase.
All right. Well, amylase is found in saliva and also in the small intestine.
Yes.
Let's not cover that stuff from the mouth where you have the amylase. That's the digestion of starch. Actually starts from the mouth where you have the saliva, because you can find amylase in the saliva. Okay, remember number 3 says, what are the subunits that make up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids? What are the subunits?
What are the subunits that make carbohydrates?
In other words, what are carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids broken down into? Go back again to page 2. Are you there?
Yeah.
I want to quickly review what we did here. I told you that the activity of enzyme is affected by temperature, and of course enzymes perform at the optimum level at 37 degrees Celsius, isn't it?
Yes.
Below it, the activity drops. Above it, the activity also drops. So the optimum level of performance is 37 degrees Celsius. Also, the optimum level is at a pH of 7, which is neutral. Above pH of 7, the activity drops. Below it, it also drops. It can drop to a point that the enzyme becomes denatured. So a graph of activity against temperature will look like this. A graph of activity against pH value will look like this, where at pH 7 it is at peak activity. Also at temperature 37 degrees Celsius it's peak activity. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, I asked you what enzymes are. You said an enzyme is a biological catalyst, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
A very quick quiz. A biological catalyst, which is an organic substance that speeds up the rate of reaction. Okay, and I also asked you to give an example of an enzyme and where it is found in the human body and in other species. And you gave me amylase, found in saliva, and also in the small intestine, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now, what substrates do amylase act on? Carbohydrate and starch. Alright, so if amylase act on carbohydrate and starch, and amylase can be found in saliva or the small intestine, that means the digestion of starch or carbohydrate starts from the mouth where you have the saliva. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
And I also asked you, what are the subunits or that make up carbohydrate, proteins, and lipids? In other words, the small molecules that carbohydrates are broken down into, proteins are broken down into, and lipids are broken down into. And of course, carbohydrates are broken down into what? Glucose. Protein broken down into,
amino acid,
and lipids are broken down into,
fatty acid,
and glycerol. That's all of these are these molecules that can be absorbed by the body. Okay, I also asked you, what are enzymes? Why are enzymes important for life processes? What was your answer again?
They are required to break down large molecules of food substances into smaller molecules that the body can absorb.
Okay, so they are required to break down large molecules of food substances into smaller molecules that the body can absorb. If those food molecules are not broken down, the body cannot absorb them. That's why enzymes are important. And they are specific. A particular enzyme for a particular substrate, just like a lock and key kind of thing. Now go to page 2, page 3, the next page. I want us to talk about certain things. Okay, this is how some of these enzymes are represented. Amino acid is represented like this, with a plus, another plus, plus, another plus, and all that. This is how it's represented. Now glucose is represented like this. Fatty acid and glycerol is represented like this. In fact, the vertical rectangle, the rectangle that is standing, is the glycerol, while these other rectangles that are horizontal are fatty acids. Okay, did you get that?
Yes, sir.
The question says the diagram shows some large organic biological compounds. Add labels to the lines to identify the subunits of each molecule. Okay, all right. So what I'm basically trying to tell you is, this whole thing, this big whole thing is the protein with several molecules of protein. You can see how many molecules, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chain in a chain. One of it is the amino acid. That's the same way you can have one of these is a glucose. The entire thing is starch. It's just a representation. Now, which kind of large organic molecules, listen, what kind of large organic molecules are enzymes? I would have cleaned this, but we've done it, so we can just review. Read this question number 2.
Protein.
Enzymes are proteins.
What kind of large organic molecules are enzymes?
Okay, enzymes are proteins. Now, enzymes are biological catalysts. Explain what that means. Just a quick review.
They are organic substances that speed up the rate of reaction.
Okay, because a catalyst is a substance that speeds up the rate of reaction. Now, amylase is a digestive enzyme found in humans. In which part of the human digestive system is amylase found? Saliva, okay. And then, which carbohydrate found in foods such as pasta is a substrate for amylase? What's a substrate for amylase? Starch, okay. Now describe the effect of amylase on this molecule. What do the amylase do on starch?
It breaks down large molecules into smaller molecules.
Okay, so they break down, or it can break down the large molecules into smaller molecules that the body can absorb, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. It breaks down the large molecules into smaller molecules which the body can absorb. Now it says some enzymes catalyze reactions in which a molecule is synthesized. Explain what this means? What does it mean to synthesize something? First of all, catalyze means speed up reaction, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, catalyze means to speed up reaction. Synthesize means to break something down into smaller molecules. What I say catalyze means?
Catalyze is to speed up reaction.
Synthesize means what?
Synthesize means to break down into smaller absorbable molecules.
Beautiful. Okay. Interesting. You know, I told you that the digestion of starch starts from the mouth, where you have the saliva, because amylase can be found in saliva. Okay, go to page 20. Are you on page 20?
Yes, sir.
Maybe we should start with page 19. Go to page 19. Let me zoom it in. Page 19. I want us to answer this very quickly. You will read it, say the answer, and then I'll fill it in.
Okay.
This first exercise.
The body needs a number of reasons.
Huh? The body needs
We
food
need food.
for a number of
The
reasons.
body needs food for a number of reasons. We need food to grow and
To do what? We need food. The body needs food for a number of
to
reasons.
repair.
Okay, we need food to also repair worn out tissues. So repairs will be here. Okay, go on. Worn out or damaged part. We also get what from food? Energy, right?
Energy.
Okay, let's go.
Energy is used for movement, producing cells. Yeah.
Producing what?
No, producing heat.
Okay, it says energy is used for movement, producing dash, and to keep all of the body parts working properly. Producing. Yeah.
Cells.
No, it's not producing. It doesn't produce cells. Producing heat. Let's see. And to keep all of the body parts working. Before the body dash can use the food.
Before the body cells can.
Okay, before the body cells can use the food we eat, it must pass into the blood. Before the body cells can use the food we eat, it must pass into the blood. Okay, the food is broken down.
The food is broken into very small soluble molecules by the intestine.
By the what system? It says by the.
Digestive.
By the digestive system. So digestive system is about breaking down food into smaller molecules that the body can absorb. Okay, these molecules
then pass through walls
of where?
Pass through walls of the intestine.
In fact, it is at the small intestine that the food is absorbed. The food is absorbed at the small intestine through the villi walls, the villus. You remember? Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's correct. Let's go to this one. Fill up this. Read out the question first of all.
Okay.
Let me zoom it in a bit.
Study the diagram below of the human digestive system and then carefully add the labels by choosing from the list at the bottom of the page.
So study the diagram below of the human digestive system and then carefully add the labels by choosing from the list at the bottom of this page. Okay. All right. So
number 1 is tongue.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me zoom it out a bit so that you'll be able to pick from the list. let me number it so that you will just be telling me which is which. This is number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, number 1 is what?
Number 1 is tongue.
Number 1 is tongue. Number 2.
Number 2 is salivary gland.
Okay, number 2 is salivary gland.
Number 3 is
Number 3 is
it's not what? It's not. I think it's here.
Number 3 is there.
Is that not esophagus or something?
Number 3 is the number 3 is there.
Okay.
Number 3 is the gallbladder.
Oh,
Gallbladder.
okay. Oh, I was looking at something else. Sorry.
Number 3 is gallbladder. Okay.
Number 4 is pancreas.
Gallbladder. Number 4 is no. Number 4 is not pancreas.
Eh?
Number 4 is
I
not
mean,
pan.
is it gallbladder? Not gallbladder. Is that the liver?
That's
Yeah,
the liver.
that's the liver.
Number 4 is the liver. We're going to look at the function of each of them first later. Number 4 is the liver. Number 5.
Number 5 is this large intestine.
Number 5 is large intestine. Large intestine.
Number 6 is appendix.
Number 6 is appendix.
Yeah. Number 7
Number 7 is
is the gullet.
that's the gullet. What's another name for gullet? Esophagus.
Esophagus.
Okay, so number 7 is gullet.
Yeah. Number 8 is the stomach.
Number 8 is the stomach. Number 9 is
Number 9 is the is rectum.
number 9 is the pancreas. This thing that looks like a leaf
Oh,
is the pancreas. Number 9 is pancreas. Later I will zoom it in so that we see it properly. Number 10,
number 10 is the small intestine.
small intestine. Number 11,
Number 11 is the rectum.
rectum. If
And
number
number 12 is the
number 11 is rectum, 12 is the anus. Good. Take note of it. Let me zoom it in a bit so that we can see it better. Can you see it now? 1 is the tongue, 2 is salivary gland, 3 is gallbladder, 4 is liver, 5 is large intestine, 6 is appendix, 7 is gullet or esophagus, 8 is stomach, 9 is pancreas, 10 is small intestine, 11 is rectum, and 12 is anus. Okay, go to the next page.
and then
Go to the next page. We have organs and their description. The options are, let me write out the options here. Liver, small intestine, these are the options. Liver, small intestine, gullet, pancreas, stomach, large intestines, appendix, mouth, and rectum. So let's be looking at each of those functions. I might need to zoom this thing in a bit. I can still zoom it in a bit further. Okay, so each organ and its function. It says here the food is chewed.
Okay.
Here the food is chewed.
Food is chewed.
With saliva, the food is shaped into a round ball before it is swallowed.
The mouth.
Okay, that's the mouth. Okay, number 2. Number 2.
This is a tube. This is a tube that squeezes the food down to the stomach. It is the esophagus or the gullet.
Okay, so let's write this one. It says here the food is chewed. No, sorry, I was underlining it. Here the food is chewed and moistened with saliva. The food is shaped into a round ball before it is swallowed. You said it's a mouth. Okay. Now this is a tube that squeezes the food down to the stomach. That's gullet or esophagus, right? Next one.
This is a bag that crunches up.
That churns. This is the bag that churns up the food. It contains gastric juice.
Oh, it's the stomach.
It contains gastric juice, hydrochloric acid. Gastric juice contains enzyme that digests protein. The acid kills germs. Remember what it said. It contains hydrochloric acid. So we find hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Take note of that. So that is the stomach. Correct. Okay. Next one.
This is a very long tube that the food passes into after leaving the stomach. Here the food is completely digested and then it is absorbed through the walls and into the bloodstream. It is the small intestine.
Okay, digestion takes place in the small intestine. It says this is a very long tube that passes into after the food passes into after it leaves the stomach. Here the food is completely digested. Food is digested in the small intestine and it is absorbed through the walls and into the bloodstream. That's small intestine, correct? Small intestine, okay.
This is a small leaf-shaped organ. It makes pancreas juice, which passes into the small intestine. This juice contains an alkaline that helps to neutralize the acid from the stomach. It also contains several enzymes. It is the pancreas.
Okay, this is pancreas. So this is a small leaf-shaped organ. It makes pancreatic juice, which passes into the small intestine. This juice contains an alkali that helps to neutralize this acid from the stomach. You know, there's acid in the stomach, so there should be an alkali to neutralize it. It also contains several enzymes. That's the pancreas. Okay, be taking note of the information that is provided. All right.
Yeah. This organ makes a chemical called bile, which is stored in a small bag called the gallbladder.
You know, I told you about the gallbladder. So this organ makes chemical called bile, which is stored in a small bag called the gallbladder. Go ahead.
Bile is squeezed into the small intestine, where it helps to break a large piece of fat.
Okay.
It is the kidney.
No, that's the liver.
I mean liver.
That's the liver. So, what organ makes bile? What organ makes bile? Liver. Okay, what's the function of the bile?
The bile is the one that does fat.
It breaks down fat. The function of it breaks down fat, right? Take note of that.
Yeah.
The function of the bile is to break down fat. Let me underline it properly. It breaks down fat. It helps to break down fat. And the bile is stored in the gallbladder, and then it passes down from the gallbladder through what we call bile duct. Okay, and I will show you in the diagram later. Let's finish up this. Next one.
This is a wild tube. This is a wide tube that the undigested food passes through. Water is absorbed from this bag into the body. It is the long intestine, large intestine.
Okay, so it says this is the wide tube that is wide. It's a wide tube that undigested food passes through. Water is absorbed from this back into the body. You see, water is absorbed from the food substance back into the body at the large intestine. At the large intestine. Okay. Let's go.
This organ has no function in human, but it helps with digestion of plant materials in heavy forms, just as seed. It sometimes becomes affected in humans, and then it must be removed. It is the
appendix. That's the organ. It hasn't been, no particular function has been found yet, and sometimes it gets infected and needs to be removed. That's the appendix. Finally, the dried out waste
materials is stored here until it's ready to be passed out of the body through the anus. It is the rectum.
The rectum. Okay. All right. So that's that. Take note of this. Remember when we did the other work, I showed you the diagram of the digestive system. You saw the bile and the gallbladder where bile is made. Let me zoom it in a bit. That's the gallbladder. Remember? Okay. And that's the pancreas. Now, I just want to tell you something very quickly. Where can I note this down? I think we can note it here. Where again is food absorbed into the bloodstream?
Where is food absorbed?
Into the bloodstream.
Small intestine.
Small intestine. And I told you that the small intestine is surrounded by, the walls of the small intestine is surrounded by villus, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Let me write it. The walls of the small intestine is surrounded by villus. Just a moment. Let me draw a line here. The walls of the small intestine is surrounded by villus. Remember, it's at the small intestine that digestion of food, the digested food is absorbed into the blood. Now, there are features or characteristics of the villus, that helps it to absorb digested food.
Yeah.
What are the characteristics?
It has
Number one,
characteristics of villus.
yes, it has a large surface area. It has what?
Large surface area.
Just to help large surface area to make absorption possible or faster. Number one, it has a large surface area. Number two, it has a thin wall. It has a thin wall so that diffusion can happen faster. You know, diffusion happens faster if the walls are thinner.
Yeah.
It has a thin wall. This is the same characteristics of alveoli. An alveoli has a large surface area. It has a small thin wall. Thin wall, I said. Thin, T-H-I-N, and wall. Number 3, it is moist. That's exactly the same thing about the alveoli. It is moist. Right? It has a large surface area. It has a thin wall. It is moist. These are characteristics of the villus, which are also the characteristics of the alveoli. I hope this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other thing we haven't done yet? I think we have reviewed all this.